So I've been doing a different type of mailing. Um, I've been doing it for solo mailers, but I think that there's huge potential for 9 by 12 marketers. Um, if you are in the city or near a city, basically a densely populated area, this is got huge potential. You probably have a large number of high rise luxury apartment buildings. These are typically secure buildings, so marketing, soliciting to the tenants of these buildings is very difficult. And a 9 by 12 would be perfect. So, as I said, I'm doing this for solo mailers for particular companies, but I just see huge opportunity for the 9 by 12. You're not going to have the same advertisers as you would for your typical homeowner because these are rentals. And the reason they're such a good target is there's like 40% churn in rental housing. So you constantly have new people coming in. Advertisers want to get a hold of them. Everything from personal services, interior decorators, restaurants. You know, not all the restaurants are on the main streets. Some are several blocks off, and they struggle sometimes for market share because the restaurants on the main street, which are paying the high rent, are getting all the attention, and that's why they're paying the high rent. But there's excellent restaurants within a couple of blocks that really have to fight hard to get market share. So to do a building, first of all, I've found, like in my area, hitting 10,000 units is not difficult. Some areas, hitting 10 is a little difficult. Hitting 5 is easy. And you have to have a list, and you're going to have to use a mail house because you want to target these buildings with laser precision, and you don't want to use EDDM. We know by experience that despite the fact that it's totally illegal to not deliver to apartments, that carriers still take a shortcut. They try to dump them on counters near cluster boxes or on top of the cluster mailboxes, and that is totally illegal. It's a federal crime. You're paying postage on each individual piece to be delivered to every door, or in this case, every delivery point, which would be a mailbox. And carriers still aren't doing it. I've challenged mailings. I've followed up physically, followed up in person on mailings to apartments, and they were not taking place. And I had the postmaster ask for new material, and he personally supervised the delivery to each building to make sure every unit got delivered. But you know, when you're under the gun, yeah, it's going to happen. But as soon as they think nobody's looking, they're going to start doing it again, and then you've got all the carriers. So it's almost futile, even though it is a crime and they could get in hot water. They take the chance. And there's no identifiers on the piece. I mean, they could take them out and dump them in the woods, and nobody would really know where it came from because there's no identifiers on there. There's no zip code, no carrier route, anything. So they wouldn't know. Mine are a little different because we print digitally here, so I do put what we print here, I do put carrier routes on, so they know if they find them in the woods, they know what carrier did it. And because it has the carrier route on there, the carrier's not going to dump them in the woods because they know they would be found out immediately. But something you can't do if you want to bulk print. And I'm going to be facing that same challenge because when I leave here, and I'm fully independent, I'm going to have to do bulk print. I can't do digital print. And I'll be, dealing with the same thing. So it was because of that problem I had mailing EDDM to these apartment units that I developed a way to build apartment mailing lists that I can mail to with saturation mailing in most cases, because you are in a densely populated area. I can hit 10,000 units within a few city blocks. And using a list, it's just a saturation list. There's no names. It's still generic to the address, to the apartment number. Your rates are almost identical to EDDM. And you don't have the waste, if you were targeting buildings, you don't have the waste of route overrun that may overrun into condominiums, may overrun into just standard residential housing, single family homes. So it's a smarter way to do it. And like I said, it's razor sharp surgical precision. Building a list is a little more difficult. Well, when I build a list, first of all, I check every building. I look at their website. I make sure that they are in fact a rental community, not a condominium. I make sure that they are not a short-term rental furnished, because those are not going to do you much good. You really want just regular long-term rentals, and those are what the advertisers are going to be going for, because you'll have there's interior decorators that specialize in rental units. They know how to really dress up an apartment. Remember, these are luxury high-rise apartments. The rents aren't cheap. These people have money, and they usually want their apartment furnishings to reflect the caliber of the unit and the building that they're in. Personal services are big. Things like private chefs for parties and things like that. Restaurants, as I mentioned before, they are big on this because these people are also not as inclined to cook home meals. They tend to eat out more or order in more, and restaurants are prime advertisers. There's just a lot of potential that I'm sure my foggy brain can't even think of right now, but I'm sure a lot of you can come up with some amazing ideas for potential advertisers. But because these are secure buildings and these advertisers really want to get in there to those thousands of people that they're missing out on, I think you can charge a premium to hit a building, or you wouldn't just hit a building. You would offer, again, 10,000 if you're in the right city. I'm hitting 10,000 units. I'm not actually in the city. I'm in the immediate suburbs, and hitting 10,000 units within 3 or 4 city blocks. And those are all in the same zip, almost all on the same route. So they meet saturation discounts, and if not saturation, they meet high density plus, which is almost as cheap. And you can offer 10,000, whatever units you come up with. Again, you're going to be mailing through a mail house, so you're not stuck to this 5,000 limit. So if you have 10,000 and 123, you can mail to all 10,123. Getting the lists for these is difficult, which is why I do it myself. I've tried buying lists from list companies, and A, they are expensive. B, they're not that accurate because most list companies cannot distinguish between what is a condominium and what is an apartment, and nor can they distinguish what is a long-term or short-term rental. They don't have all that information in there. All they know it is a multi-family dwelling, meaning there's more than one unit in the building, and that's about all they know. So I've developed a system for building these lists. I am offering these lists for $25 a thousand. There is a $250 minimum because there is a certain amount of time invested manually, as I said, as I investigate each building and make sure it has sufficient units, that it is rental, not condo, it's not short term, and there's no other issues with it. If you're interested in trying this out, get in touch with me, and I'll be glad to look at numbers and tell you what may be available in your area. Take this to a different level. If you're not in the city, you're out in the suburbs, you have kind of a similar situation with gated communities. Some are tiny, they're not worth the trouble, but there's some larger gated communities where they have several hundred homes that these businesses would love to get inside. Now, up front, most of these gated communities have HOA newsletters that are typically in magazine form, and they carry advertising. I've had mixed feedback on that. It seems that a lot of people, because it is a magazine format, a lot of people, they're not thumbing through the pages. They're not seeing all these advertisements. They see anything that's on the front cover, the back cover, typically the inside front cover, because on the very first page is usually an index of phone numbers for the HOA and services. It's kind of a directory that they put in there all the time for your utilities and general services. So people are referring to that page a lot. There's advertisements on that page and the inside cover. The rest of the pages, and sometimes at some point, usually in the center spread of the magazine, is like the community calendar that everybody refers to see what events are going on. There's typically ads at or near the calendar. The rest of the ads don't get much attention. People just don't tend to thumb through and read these articles, which are typically boring. So in those communities, I think a 9x12 card would be awesome. Other people have done community cards into communities like that. I say stick with the larger card. You're in a prime community with typically much higher income, much higher value homes, and advertisers will pay a premium for ads to target those homeowners. So there you have it. I mean, there's two different versions of kind of the same thing. You need to get a list to target the community, and that is much easier than getting a list for apartment buildings. Apartment buildings are difficult, as I said. Communities, you can get lists on Melissa. Go to lookups and go down to, I forget where they call it, neighborhoods or communities. You can just start entering the name of the community, and it'll pull up a list from different states, and you can find the community see a map, and then you can order a list, which is quite cheap. It's generic. There's not names. You don't need them. I believe those they are not saturation lists, but doesn't matter. You're going to give that list to a mail house, and they're going to process it to get the absolute lowest postage possible. And it probably won't be quite as cheap as EDDM retail, but you should still get your marriage mail incentive. You should still get your containerization discount, and I think that'll bring you pretty close. And again, you can charge a premium. You can make a lot of money on these, and I think the advertisers will pay because it's not just run-of-the-mill coupon advertising. You're targeting very high-value customers, and they will pay a very high value for the ad to reach them. Okay, so that's two aspects of it, and I hope you give it some thought. If you happen to be in one of those areas that can take advantage of this, it's been doing extremely well for solo mailers, and I just can't imagine it not doing extremely well for a 9x12.